Hi friends, my name is Brianna and welcome back to Brianna's Bookshelf. Today we are going to be doing the Booktubers numbers tag. This tag was created by Jim from Jim's Books, Reading and Stuff, and I was tagged by Cliff from Cliff's Dark Gems. So the first question is, what was your first booktube video? And my first booktube video that is still like public on my profile is my best books of 2024 video, which I made just about 2 years ago or a little less than 2 years ago. Before that, I had made a couple of other videos that were frankly pretty bad, so those are like privated. That was my first public one, and it still took me a while after that video to get into posting regularly here on BookTube. The second question is, how many books are you currently reading? And I am currently reading 3 books. Oddly enough, that seems to be kind of the magic number for me for how many books I'm usually reading. It's usually either 2 or 3. I just feel like I always have to have at least a physical book and then also something that is on my Kindle for like if I want to read once I turn out the lights and I'm like all tucked into bed without the light on. I always have that too. And then sometimes I have other stuff going on as well. I like to mix up genres. So I'll just quickly go over what I'm reading at the moment. I'm reading Animal by Lisa Taddeo as my physical read, and I'm reading this for my book club I do with my friends, and so far this is pretty good. I don't know how to feel exactly about it, but I'm having fun. It's like a contemporary fiction, weird girl kind of vibe. Then I'm reading Ship of Magic by Robin Hobb. Actually, I'm reading this with my boyfriend, so this is kind of going on in the background. Like, we've been reading this pretty slowly together, and we are currently working through like the Realm of the Elderlings universe together. So I pretty much always have one of the books from this world going kind of in the background, but I just don't talk about it until I finish it because me and him slowly read these over like a period of months. This is super fun. It's the first book in the Live Ship trilogy by Robin Hobb, which is the second trilogy in like the greater universe. And it's basically about these ships that are alive and can talk, and also pirates, and it's super fun. And I'm about halfway through, which is awesome. And then the third book I have going right now is City of Brass by Shannon Chakraborty. And I'm reading this on my Kindle, and it is the first book in a fantasy trilogy. I think it's YA fantasy. And I had this one on my radar for a while. It is like a Middle Eastern inspired fantasy that starts out in Cairo and then takes us into this magical world where jinn live. Next question is, what were your 3 favorite books from last year? And I went back and checked on my best books of 2025 video, so I got it accurate as to what I'd quoted at that time. And in third place, I had Tender is the Flesh by Augustina Bazterrica. This is like a very brutal horror book following this kind of dystopia where humans start to be raised as meat, and there is like human meat industrial agriculture, and it is pretty fucked up and dark, but I feel like it has really good commentary on society, and I just loved it despite the fact it was so grim and disgusting. And my second favorite of last year was We Love You Bunny by Mona Awad, and this is the follow-up to Bunny, which is one of, if not my favorite book of all time. And this is also horror. It is like very weird girl horror that is very trippy, kind of girly in a way. Like, we're following this group of girls that are almost like this tight-knit little club, and yeah, they get into some really weird stuff. Yeah, I don't know how much more to say, but I think that lovers of Bunny would like this. Maybe. It seems like a polarizing one, but I still loved it. And then my favorite book of last year was Terror by Erica McKean. And this is, surprise, surprise, also a horror book, and also a very like odd literary type of horror. And in this book, we are following Frances, who is super like antisocial and feeling a lot of isolation as she is in college, and she lives in the basement of this house with other girls, but she pretty much just like stays in the basement, and then one day when she tries to leave the basement she can't, and she thinks that she might be locked inside. Question number 4 is how many books did you read last year? And I read 86 books in 2025, which I was super happy with. I think that that is the most books I've ever read in a year. So I'm very happy with that. Question 5 is how many books have you rated 5 stars this year? And I went and checked through my Goodreads and I have rated 11 books 5 stars so far in 2026. However, I will say that one of those was a reread. So between 10 and 11, I guess, depending on whether you would count a reread for this question. And I'm pretty happy with that. That's like more than 1 5 star a month. So I think I'm doing pretty good with picking some quality reads. Question number 6 is do you have a reading target this year? And if so, are you on track? And I set my reading goal for this year at 75. I felt like that was a nice number to try to aim for because I exceeded it last year, but it's like not that far off from what I got. So I felt like I wouldn't have to really push myself too hard, but that obviously it's still a high number of books. And I'm definitely on track. I just checked and I'm currently at 61 books read for the year. So if I continue on the same pace, I am definitely going to surpass that goal. And I don't know, I haven't really done the math, but it seems like I'm probably going to have more books read than last year potentially, but that just depends how the rest of these months go. Question number 7 is how many pages is the book that you're currently reading? And like I mentioned, I am currently reading 3 books. Animal is 336 pages long. City of Brass is 532 pages, and the longest is Ship of Magic coming in at 880 pages. Question number 8 is how long are your videos? And I would say, of course, it varies, but probably the majority of the videos that I make are like between 15 and 25 minutes long. I tend to definitely make shorter ones. I still really want to get more into vlogging. I haven't been great about vlogging this summer, and I'm definitely going to try to work on that more going into the fall. So there's potentially going to be some longer videos coming out. But at this point in time, I'm just pretty straight and to the point. So I like to keep it short. Question number 9 is do you have a favorite number? And I don't think so. I've honestly never really thought about it too much, and I couldn't really claim one if I wanted to. There's some numbers that just like I feel like come up a lot as like lucky numbers or sounding cool, like 7 comes to mind or like 11, but I don't know that I have a particular favorite. And then the final question for this tag, question number 10, is do you have any books on your shelf that have a number in the title? And I was actually shocked at how few I had. When I read this question, I was thinking, oh, surely there's going to be a lot, like more than I want to talk about right now. But I could only actually find 2 when I looked through. The ones I were able to find was Fourth Wing, obviously fourth, 4. And I actually forgot that I annotated this book until I picked it up off my shelf. I had no idea that I annotated it, which is kind of a bummer because I think I'm DNFing this series. But anywho, and the only other one I saw was the 5th season. So again, 5, 4th and 5th. That's pretty funny that it ended up like that. All right, so those were all the questions from this tag. Thank you so much to the creator Jim for making this, and thank you again to Cliff for tagging me. I'll tag some folks below who I think should make this video, but of course, if you are interested, please go ahead and make this video yourself as well. Consider yourself tagged. And if you've made it to the end of this video and you'd like to let me know, you can leave me a little like paper tag emoji down in the comments. Thanks everyone for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.